Hey, how's it going, everyone? So it's 3 p.m. Eastern Time or 8 p.m. GMT. So we're going to go ahead and get started with our meeting today. So good afternoon or good evening, everyone. This is our first official High Command meeting with Red and I as General. And as with every new administration, we're going to make a few changes and improvements. Now, most of you have sat here through the past 3 generals and have heard the same speech over and over. And for the past year and a half, I've watched generals like Ukraine and Ashton come and go and get nothing done. After a year and a half of watching this group grow and progress as a developer, you learn what works and what doesn't work. And I believe it's time that we start doing the right thing. First of all, Red and I have high expectations of you guys. As of yesterday, Red and I were given access to all the regiments, and as of last night, all CO ranks should be fixed. If you have not read the bulletin board, this is how the new rank structure is going to work. This is not necessarily permanent. The rifles, paras, ETS, and RMP-CO will be ranked Lieutenant General with a Colonel XO. These are the 4 core regiments of BA. The 4 smaller, more specialized regiments, PFP, SAS, AAC, and GG, will have a CO ranked Colonel and a Lieutenant Colonel XO. So why are we doing this? Because we simply do not need 8 or 9 lieutenant generals. It's too cluttered, and that's how USM operates. Now, I'm sure one of the first things on a lot of your minds is, well, how do I promote people? I don't have rank powers. Same way you've always had to do it. Send a promotion request. Speaking of that, I'm ending the rumor that PRs take 1 to 3 days to be completed. This is something from the Ukraine and Ashton administration that I hated, and it's absolute crap. PRs should be completed within 12 hours of being submitted, ideally 6 hours, which is something I'll be speaking to the lieutenant generals about later. We're going to start expecting regiment reports on a tri-weekly basis. That's 3 times a week. There will be an easy to fill out form posted on the bulletin board sometime tomorrow that Red will read and see how your regiment is doing. It'll ask questions like, what positive things have happened in your regiment this week? What negative things have happened this week? Have you had any command changes, etc., etc.? These reports will help us determine which regiments need more of our attention and which regiments are operating self-sufficiently. Which brings me to another point. I'm aware that past leaders have stripped regiments of a lot of equipment. This week, I created an immediate order to have guns given to GG and PFP, a long overdue requisition. I'll add a box in your regiment reports for use to request anything else your regiments need, and we'll work it out. With the new reporting system, we will be able to check weekly quotas. At the end of each day, ETS will be required to have trained 75 recruits. Not necessarily past 75 recruits, however. Other regiments will have daily patrol quotas. With ETS, a lot of people have been asking me and wondering about OTS. The new ETSCO, Avalex, is almost finished taking my notes and creating lectures out of it. All officers will be required to take and pass OTS. I'll have a deadline posted for that once we see how smoothly OTS goes. The process for becoming an officer once OTS starts will be somewhat realistic but simple. If you have an open battalion XO position, for example, you will be able to enter one of your NCOs or enlisted people into OTS, where he or she will take OTS over the course of a week or week and a half. However, during any of this time, if you determine that candidate is no longer active in your regiment and or you don't want them to have that position anymore, then you can tell ETS to remove them from the program. It's completely up to you and ETS. ETS, whoever's the instructor is for OTS, can determine that they just won't pass by failing the exams. That's another way they can be booted from the program. OTS will have 3 phases, each phase focusing on different attitudes and responsibilities of being an officer. After the completion of each phase will be a short test or 1-page paper to make sure you listened and understood the content. For the daily patrols on patrols quota, each regiment except for RMP and ETS will be required to patrol the FOB with X number of soldiers for X amount of time. I will probably end up making a schedule so there's no huge gaps in patrol times. These patrols will increase our regiment activity, FOB activity, etc. Now officers, don't think that every patrol is worth a promotion. Otherwise, by this time next week, we'll end up having 4,000 staff sergeants. If your solution to keeping your soldiers happy and active is to promote them for everything, then you are wrong. The best way to keep your regiment active is to be on Discord comms as much as possible. ETS used to have game night every other night or something like that when they weren't busy. That's something you can do to boost your off-duty activity. There has been a lot of issues with officers on Discord. I've noticed a lot of officers have their DMs completely disabled because they're tired of people asking them for tryouts and promotions. If that's your attitude, then I don't want you. I realize that answering 1,000 DMs is tough. I have to answer 2,000 DMs every day. Respond to your DMs like you're an officer. These are just people trying to ask you a question and have probably been shot down by other officers already. What I like about BA is the energy that everyone brings to the academy, something not seen in a lot of groups. But what I hate the most is when officers complain about other officers in their own regiment. I can tell you right now that I've worked with a lot of people in many different groups that I thought were inexperienced, childish, or just plain bad people. And one of the biggest traits about myself is the ability to make things work. In almost all of these jobs, I was able to deal with it, and eventually if I outperformed that inexperienced officer long enough, I was given their job. Now, I'm not saying you should be gunning for someone else's job, but you should always strive to do better than everyone else. When I left my position as general in 2017 to become a full-time developer, we stopped being involved with our allies and the rest of the modern military community. Over the next few weeks, I plan to talk to old and new allies, young and old groups, and start figuring out how BA can contribute to the community. We are one of the most active modern military groups, and I believe it's time to start being a larger player in this community. At this point, I'll open the floor to a Q&A. I'll also be reading questions from the live stream, so if you have a question, just form a line in front of the podium. People watching the live stream, just post your questions there, and I'll try to read them as often as I can. So if you like to, guys in the game, you can go ahead and form a line if you have any questions about anything related to the group. Alright, it's North. What's your question? The question is, will agents in training in RMP have their weapons removed? There is trouble around this and abusers. Alright, what I'll do is, I'll talk to Slice or Zen right after this meeting, because I'm having a CO meeting after this, and I'll get their opinion on it and see what they like to do about that. The question in the live stream is, why aren't RMP or paras given rifles? We need these basic things just to protect our tryouts, trainings, etc. So I'm going to implement a new security policy, which I field tested a little bit this past week. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give RMP and certain special forces the task of defending BBT from terrorists or people who just want to kill all of yous. Alright, Lucifer, what's your question? Is there a set time for patrols, as well as what regiments can participate in them? So what I'll end up doing is, I will probably create a schedule for patrols that will show each regiment and what regiment or regiments are supposed to be patrolling at that particular time. That will keep a set schedule, and that'll prevent big gaps in patrol times. The question in the live stream is, will we have bombs? No. Soul Eater, what's your question? Will ETS ever get weapons? We are constantly being murdered. I think that's something that I can work with. I'll look into that. I think weapons is something we should stop giving to instructors. Not necessarily the instructors in training or the Phase 0 people, but I think that's something we can work out. Avalex, do make a note to add weapons for instructors plus in the ETS group. Give them the actual weapons, not like the dinky ones from the game passes. The question on the live stream is, when will paras get a uniform for themselves? Because it has the BFP logo on it, please answer. Okay, so on Friday, yesterday, Mark gave me permission to seek out uniform makers, whether they're in Cree or a third party, and see how well their quality of uniforms is going to be. And if I like the quality, and so does he, then he will approve the purchase of new uniforms for all regiments, formals, combats, etc. Alright, can't really read your name. Something XO, what's your question? The question in the live stream is, if you are an ally, what rank do you have to be to go into the academy? Well, I think the way we have it set it up is all allies of all ranks can enter the academy, but that doesn't mean GGs start treating the E1s and the conscripts like royalty. Alright, and the question is, for the helipad, can you make restrictions for it because a bunch of people are abusing it? Avalex, do make a note to add some restrictions to the teleporter on the helipad. Only certain regiments should even be able to use it. I can't think of a time that rifles or SAS would ever need to go up there. The question on the live stream is, will RAC open up? If you don't know what that stands for, that's the Armored Regiment. So RAC, we're thinking about it, but right now we just don't have the manpower to spare to open up that regiment right now. That's one of those regiments like AAC, there's a lot of logistics involved, and we're just not prepared to do that right now. Alright, Panda, what's your question? The question is, so what with PFP? Are they allowed to join paras or not? Because I've had a lot of questions about this, and so have I. And for a while I've been trying to think about the best answer for this. And from what I have determined, since we are treating PFP like its own regiment by giving them a CO, XO, and then all the required officers, I think it would be easier to keep PFP as their own separate regiment, just so there's no command confusion or sharing of officers, anything like that. Okay, the question on the live stream is, will the Allied team be fixed in the academy so other allies other than Egypt can be teamed? What I'm going to do is, later this week or sometime next week, I am going to talk to some of our allies and see which ones really need to be coming to the academy. Alright, Radio Jordan, what's your question? The question is, we need to lower the price of the clothing of ETS. Yes, I think all the clothing all the shirts and pants should be the minimum price of 5 Robux, so I'll make a note of that to get that done. I think 10's a little extreme, or 7, whatever it's set to. Alright, the question is, will RMP have a car? If they do,
yeah,
which division will have the car? What'd you say?
It's at the new academy.
Okay, yes, RMP will have a car. It's going to be at the version 5 academy, which is set to be released here. We're on the 17th, so probably on the 28th is when the academy is going to be finished. Alright, MJ, what's your question? Will Itzy Etchu, I probably butchered that, be returning to his position as CO upon his return? I'll have a talk with him about it, but yeah, I'll just have to talk to him about it first and talk with Velocity and Itzy Etchu. The question on the live stream is the whole SAS and PFP merge just not happening now? Well, I heard from Mark yesterday he does not want to merge the two regiments. They will remain separate regiments. Alright, Fuzzy Fire, what's your question? I think that's your name. Pink Fatty, what's your question?
For some reason I can't type on the screen.
For some reason I can't read. Will regiments, what regiments will get vehicles? Avalex, which regiments did you add vehicles for?
Currently, only MP has a police patroller. SAS might. So I've been asked anyway to do that. But
I don't see much use in giving most regiments a vehicle, because we already know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Someone's going to get a vehicle, it's going to be flipped over, Rifles is going to ram their vehicle into AAC, AAC is going to ram their truck into SAS, and it's just going to keep doing that. We know that's what's going to happen. But we'll see what we can do. We're going to start with RMP first and see what happens.
Yeah. We need a driving course.
The question on the live stream is, when is the medical regiment combing? He said combing like you're combing your hair. When is the medical regiment combing? Well, at one time we actually had a medical regiment, but we just didn't have much use for it. And like I said about RAC, we just don't have the manpower to spare for stuff like that right now. Perhaps maybe a month from now we can try that again. Connor Smith, what's your question? Would it be possible to add bayonets and more rifle arm drills such as trail arms added to the GG guns? Wow, that was a mouthful. So what we're doing is, Mark has asked us to look into the possibility of new guns, which is something we're actively doing. So when we're looking for our new guns, making the animations for it, I'll be sure that we requisition getting bayonets put on the end of it.
Means like rifle drill.
Yeah, so we'll add the rifle drill animations to those guns.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then a bayonet on the end of it. But when we get our new guns, we might as well just already have those animations for it, rather than make new guns just for that one thing.
Yeah.
Alright, the question is, will there be a certain regiment that mostly involves snipers? If so, how well would that work? Well, I can understand rifles having a sniper battalion, and then when they spawn at the FOB that they have a sniper rifle. I can see that being a possibility sometime in the future. As far as how well would that work, I don't know how well that'll work. It could be very effective. It could suck and it won't be effective. But I have a feeling there's a possibility for it. Next question is, what regiments are allowed to guard the headquarters? Well, the way we've been using GG is, GG, I've seen them guarding the headquarters, I've seen them guarding high command, so at first, it would be GG who guards the main headquarters building. If they're not available, then of course RMP, but one of RMP's core responsibilities is to keep the bad guys out of the good guys map. Lucifer, what's your question? On behalf of AAC/officers, he's speaking for everyone here. At the current or new academy, will we receive vehicles such as helicopters, planes for the...
One helicopter.
So as far as helicopters, I'm sure most of you have experienced this. The academy can get quite laggy sometimes, and we're not sure how the new one is going to handle that. We think it's going to be a lot better, but to start out, we're not going to put helicopters inside the academy until we know how it's going to handle without them, to see what the lag is. The question is, for ETS, will we continue to have 2 XOs, or will we cut it back down to 1? So I'm going to talk to the ETS CO Avalex after this meeting, the meeting with all the COs, and see what his opinion on that. Ultimately, I think I'm going to leave it up to the individual COs for the 4 core regiments about if they want 1 or 2 XOs. I can see why the core regiments would have 2 XOs, 1 for the American time and then 1 for the British time. But I'll definitely talk it over to them. The question on the live stream is, do you think an SRR comeback could work out as well? Well, don't really see the need to having 3 Special Forces regiments. We can barely handle 2, because they're always getting at each other. So I think having 2 Special Forces regiments is just fine. Alright, what's your question, Premius? Will ETS get their own beret, and can you let only ETS control the locks on the doors, because a lot of people go and lock it? I'm aware of that issue. Avalex, of course, make a note of that as well for the door locks on the ETS classrooms. Okay, and I think we should have. Excuse me. I think we should have ETS berets, because I know you guys, including me, because mine's just a blank beret. I'm sure you don't like wearing just blank berets, so we'll come up with something for that. The question is the new academy going to have better obstacle courses? The one right now are good and all, but they don't really test people. Yeah, the obstacle courses we have now, they've been here for like 3 versions of the academy. I helped build one of them, and that was a long time ago. That was 2 calendars ago. So I think we definitely need new obstacle courses. Alex, see if you can get CPT or so. Okay, just for the record, that is not my toilet flushing in the background. Avlex, see if you can get CPT or someone to build 2 new obstacle courses. We have 3, but I think 2 of them need to be retired. The question is, will there be an HR tryout? Will it be made a thing? There are no HR tryouts, and that will not be a thing. The closest thing to that is your CO entering you into officer candidate school, where you would take OTS and become an officer should you pass. Alright, Fury Fly, what's your question? Last time we were told that we can drive tanks. When will they be added to the FOB? Besides that, we think this is totally stupid. Well, you are a very opinionated person. So like I said with RAC, it's a logistical nightmare. Getting working, filtering enabled tanks, getting people not to ram into each other or push me into the river like they did at the Russian army map. Yeah, I still got pictures of that. So for the time being, we're not likely to get tanks anytime soon. We're more likely to get Humvees or something to the sort sooner than that. And the question, when will we get helis? We're working on it. Bless you. The question is, will allies get their own personal weapons that they can use to kill packages, abusers, raiders, and exploiters? No, but they can buy them. Can't get everyone a free gun. The question is, why is the main regiment's CO is Lieutenant Colonel and the UKSF CO is Colonel? Well, that's something I explained a little while ago, but what we're doing is the 4 core regiments of BA, Rifles, Paras, RMP, and ETS will have a Lieutenant General CO. And then the 4 smaller, more specialized regiments will have a Colonel as a CO. We just don't need 8 or 9 Lieutenant Generals. Aiden, what's your question? What's the point of having a Special Protection Division within RMP when SAS only work security detail? Explain that a little bit for me. Is your question, let me try and reword your question a little bit. So your question is, why does RMP have a special detail division when SAS basically does that? So RMP, I've known this for a while, has a lot of outdated division names. And for a while I actually wanted to get rid of 2 of them and just have 2 divisions. That's something I'll talk with you guys about later and see if Mark will remove some of those names or rename them or something. But I think 4 is a lot and we really need to cut down on that. The question is, how will you make tryouts happen? So I'm actually going to talk to the COs right after this meeting because I do get a lot of questions about when are ETS interviews, when are RMP tryouts. Well, yes, I know they happen, but there's not enough of them happening. We have a group of 150,000 people, and yet our regiments have between 40 and 110 people. That's not a lot. So ideally, for something like Rifles, I'd like for them to have about 500 members. I think Paras should also have around 500 members. And, stuff like RMP should have about, 150, because before this meeting we had 250 people at our academy. We just don't have enough officers, RMP officers, to go around and protect that big ass of a map. And then for ETS, of course, I think ETS should have about 150 people in it, about 100 to 150 instructors, just because we're a big group. We need that many people. Is North, what's your question? What will the NPD car, it could easily be abused, and what will it be used for? Well, ideally we want to see it being used for city patrolling because there will be a small city and tracking down dummies who get inside the base. But if we do see it getting abused, of course we will remove it. This is a trial run. I can't remember the last time we actually had vehicles at the academy, so we're going to see how this works. Is it possible to add standard official formations and tactics to RMP? So for a while, later last year actually, I had an alternate account in RMP. And that's when I realized that RMP doesn't really do formations that much anymore. If anything, I've seen Velocity with AAC do a lot more formations than RMP lately, so that I definitely want RMP to start having standardized formations that they can create with 3 people, 4 people, 6 people, whatever. I have started doing some in trainings that are very, very effective. Yep, I did a little bit of that too. I did a lot of that actually in later 2017, and it is very effective. Okay, the question on the live stream is, will the Academy have a info place to help civilians join the BA like a few academies back? The answer is yes. The question is, can warrant officer be opened up? I cannot attend BA wides or RMP wides or anything, all caps, exclamation mark, question mark. So warrant officer is actually going to be used for everyone who is in OTS. So if you're in OTS, we're going to rank you up to warrant officer, and you're also going to have a rank in ETS. That way it'll be easy to manage everyone. And then once you pass OTS, if you pass OTS, we will rank you to lieutenant, on the first officer rank, and then from there your CO will decide what to do with you. Alright, Brazilian? XO, what's your question? Will there ever be an airfield added in case of extensive trainings or just practice parachuting? AAC should, if they don't, we'll make one, should have their own map to practice all of this, because we can't put everything at the academy. It's just going to create too much lag. And the question on the live stream is, why does the ETS uniform cost Roblox? Because Roblox has a rule that if you sell a shirt or the pants for it, you can't make it free. It has to be a minimum of 5 Robux, which I plan on lowering the price to 5 Robux if it's not already that. The question is, since the SAS is supposed to be classified, will there be bananas? Well, that's a great question. Will there be bananas? Sure.
Willem, he meant bandana.
I saw it after I said it. I was like, oh, he actually said bandana, but I just went with it. I was like, sure, yes, you'll get bandanas. The question is, what does OTS mean? It means Officer Training School, or that's what it is right now. We'll probably change it. Alright, I'll take 3 more questions from in-game, and I'll take a few more questions from the live stream. Silly Jad, what's your question? If rifles ever get snipers at the FOB, what kind of sniper will it be? Big. Alright, and the question is, why do weapons in the store cost so much Robux? Because we don't want everyone to have one. If everyone has a gun, then everyone's going to be killing each other. Also, would you consider making an infantry training place? I think that's something we should do. Because, like I said earlier, we just can't put everything at the academy. It'll just lag it up. But you might as well just use the FOB for your infantry training place. You're already going to be doing patrols there about every few hours, so you might as well just do it there. The question is, in version 5 Academy, will servers be expanded from 50 players max to 100 players max?
No,
So historically, Historically, we have had an issue with the more people past 50 who join the academy, the lag becomes exponential. So we'll start it off at 50, we'll see what happens, and then a week later we'll up it up to 65, see what happens, and then we'll go from there. But I don't think we ever need 100. I think 75 should be the max. Zen Rays, what's your question? Will you, Redfire or Marcus's, ever consider bringing back Royal Intelligence Corps? Can we change the Special Investigation Division, Firearm Division? See the chat cut it off. So I'm going to keep this a secret. Royal Intelligence Corps already exists and it works. You just don't know about it. Now you do, but you just don't see them working. I know, but Ashton left. Yeah, because we fired him. That doesn't mean it's not working anymore. Alright, Sir Connor, what's your question? And while you're typing that, the question in the live stream is, will there ever be a platform to walk over in the academy or GUI to remove your package? So there's two arguments for this. The first argument is it would be easier to make a button to remove your package. Sure, that's the simple way out. And the argument against that is, well, they'll never learn to take their package off. So if they go anywhere like a raid and represent BA, well, they're wearing a 2.0. And the other side is, well, just don't add the GUI, force them to remove their package, but a lot of people just don't even know what the package is. So you have to teach them how to do it, but I'll think about it. And the question is, should we rename Special Investigation Division to Special Firearms Division? I'll talk about it with you later, because we'll have to go over a bunch of details for that. Sir Connor, last question, Sir Connor, then I'll take some more from the live stream. Will GG ever get their own berets instead of using Yorkshire? Of course, we're looking into it. I'll take another question from the game since that was short. What is going to happen to the phases in ETS, and what about the demotion chat? Screw the demotion chat. And will you make a loadout rooms for regiment? So one, getting rid of the demotion chat, I've looked at it like twice. I'm never going to look at it. We're never going to look at it, because we're not used to it, and we don't feel like getting used to it. Will there ever be a loadouts room? Definitely for the FOB, I can see something like that happening. Specific regiments getting a specific loadout.
Like a GUI loadout.
Yeah, like a GUI or something.
Possibly like that. Think about that for the I think the academy rather than.
The question is, can you make civilians/recruits not wear the regimental berets? Yes, we've already implemented that in the new academy. The question is, so where are we going to put the motions? Put them in the rank requests. Someone actually renamed the promotion request channel to rank requests or something like that, so just put them there. The question is, will RMP get their own private formals like the USAR did? So I talked about this a little bit earlier. I am looking for uniform designers, whether they're in Cree or third party, to give us some sample work for new uniforms for all the regiments, formals, number 1s, 2s, standard 8s, and the other standards, plus some combats. Alright, Viewer Fly, what's your question? Comment to the own training place Stu. We have one. I sent the link to Avalex lately. Well, he's lost it probably by now. Alright, Panda, what's your question? While he's typing that, the question in the live stream is, well, I know it's not really mandatory, but when will IDs of HRs be fixed? They're fixed, my dude. The question in the chat is, will allies not be killed by the turrets because they are in the civilian rank in the academy? Well, certain allies are only immune from the turret. We haven't added all of them yet. There are some not so close allies that we don't really want in the academy, and they don't want us in their academy because they shoot us when we go there, so works both ways. Last question from in-game. Lightning back. And last question from the live stream. Will Zen Rays be the CO of RMP? At the moment, no. Mark appointed Slice of Common Sense to be the CO of RMP. Last question from in-game. Can you make a shooting range with moving targets so RMP can work on its combat? I'll think of something. That sounds like a good idea. I'll think of something. And last question from the live stream. What is the officer training school? Well, officer training school just happens to be training for officers. It's like a school, pretty much. So that's what that is. It's how you go from staff sergeant or warrant officer to lieutenant. But the CO of the regiment has to send you to OTS. It's up to him or her whether you're allowed to take OTS or not. I'm going to leave it up just to the CO, unless the CO gets the XO to say, hey, can you give me a list of people who need to take OTS to fill these positions? Sure. And then the CO will say, hey guys, or hey Avalex, I got these people who need to take OTS. Awesome. Alright guys, so right at 55 minutes here. I thank everyone for attending the in-game meeting, and then everyone for watching the live stream. I really enjoyed you guys sending your feedback and asking questions that I was able to answer. So now I'm going to shut down the live stream, and then we're going to have a closed door meeting with all of the regiment XOs and hires. So everyone have a great evening or great afternoon, and we'll probably have another meeting same time, same place, same day of the week next week, and we'll probably live stream that one as well. So thank you, and you guys